Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing high concept horror video number 7, The 7 Deadly Sins of Horror. So I have taken 7 different films and I have paired them with all of these different sins, and they are all movies that I think are definitely worth checking out. So I do have to say a quick spoiler warning for some of the different movies in this list, just because there are going to have to be some key plot points that I bring up about these films just to explain how they match with the different sins. Now, the first one that I want to talk about is pride. People that exhibit this deadly sin are very arrogant and they think that they are better than others and sometimes even better than God. So, the movie that I chose to put with this is the original Frankenstein. In this movie, we have our main character, Dr. Henry Frankenstein, who has decided that he wants to try to bring life to some different dead body parts that he finds, and he wants to make an entire new being from these different body parts, some of which were the organs of criminals. And it ends up that he does bring life to that body. And I think that he is just the perfect one to exhibit pride. He is very arrogant about his own abilities. And who can forget that iconic quote that he has after he does bring his monster to life? Now I know what it feels like to be God. He just definitely puts himself on the same kind of playing field as God throughout the course of this film. And it is shown pretty quickly in the movie that he doesn't really feel that way toward his creation like he should. He just seems very disgusted by him. And it is very evident that he is the real enemy in this film. Now, the next one that I want to talk about is greed. And people that exhibit this deadly sin want to gain and hoard wealth or possessions. And so the movie that I wanted to put with this one is Don't Breathe. In this movie, we have our main character, Rocky, as well as her 2 accomplices, Alex and Money, who are down on their luck and they decide that it would be a good idea to rob this blind veteran who happens to be very wealthy. That way they can get themselves in a better financial spot. But I think that all of these characters definitely exhibit greed for the sense that they, want to get themselves out of their bad situation that they are in financially, which I do respect, but they go about it in just the worst possible way. And although our blind veteran is actually not what he seems, and he is way more of a formidable foe than they ever would have expected, this is definitely the type of Reddit story that would be labeled "everyone sucks" here. Now, the next one that I want to talk about is lust. And people with this deadly sin have a very strong desire for sexual pleasure or money and power. And the movie that I wanted to pair with this one is Hellraiser. So in Hellraiser, we start out with a character named Frank who has just been through all of the pleasures that he can think of on this earth, and he happens onto this puzzle box that will open the door to a realm with otherworldly type of pleasure. And that is exactly what happens when he successfully opens this puzzle box and he ends up getting torn apart. Now, his affair partner, Julia, has to lure men to the home where his consciousness resides, I guess, and they are going to essentially sacrifice those men in order to try to bring his body back. And I think that both of them exhibit lust because they are completely focused on the pleasure aspect of everything, and they don't care what they do in order to achieve that. It's even so much that Julia is cheating on her husband, Frank's brother, throughout the course of the film as well. Now, the next one I want to talk about is envy. People with this deadly sin are very jealous of others, and they just want everything that they have that they don't. And the movie that I paired with this one is Us. So in Us, we have our main character, Adelaide, who is on vacation with her family. And it ends up that a family of doppelgangers breaks into the place that they are staying at, and they have a bone to pick with them. So both Adelaide and her doppelganger, Red, really exhibit envy here. It is kind of a confusing situation because the character that we thought was Adelaide all along was actually Red, and vice versa. So it turns out that when they were both little girls, the real Adelaide ended up getting harmed by Red. That way, Red could try to take her spot on the main version of the world, I guess, above ground and stuff. That way, she could have the life that she so desired. And then throughout the course of the film, the one that we meet who is Red is actually Adelaide, who is just trying to get her life back. And I don't blame her for that either. Now, the next one I want to talk about is sloth. People with this deadly sin are more apathetic and spiritually lazy. And the movie that I wanted to pair with this one is The Babadook. So in The Babadook, we have our main character, Amelia, who is a grieving mother of a son that has some different emotional problems going on. And it really all stems from the fact that his father died on the way to the hospital before he was born. So I think that Amelia does really represent sloth here because when she is having so much trouble dealing with her grief, she becomes neglectful to herself and her son to a certain degree as well. You know, she just is not handling the depression very well, and as a result, she kind of manifests this entity of the Babadook upon them. Now, for gluttony, people with this deadly sin, they overindulge or just overconsume. And the movie that I wanted to pair with this one is Raw. So in Raw, we have our main character, Justine, who is going into veterinary medicine, and she has been a lifelong vegetarian, and she ends up having to consume raw meat in a hazing ritual. And once she gets a taste of that raw meat, she has just this uncontrollable craving for more flesh. And I think that Justine does really exhibit gluttony because of the fact that once she does have that taste, there is no stopping her. She's got to have more raw meat wherever she can get it, and she even has the desire to become cannibalistic in order to achieve that. So the last deadly sin I want to talk about is wrath. And people that exhibit this one have just an uncontrollable rage and desire for vengeance. And the movie that I wanted to pair this one with is Law Abiding Citizen. So in Law Abiding Citizen, we have our main character, Clyde, who has gone through an unthinkable tragedy when people break into his home and end up murdering his wife and child. And when it comes time for the justice system to hopefully bring justice to those responsible, they fail pretty miserably in doing that, and they go more for like plea deals and stuff like that. So it ends up that Clyde just kind of bides his time and ends up exacting his revenge upon everyone who is responsible. And I think that he is definitely the perfect embodiment for wrath because of that vengeance that he so desperately craves. And no one is really safe when it comes to this journey, I guess, that Clyde is on. And I can't say that I blame him here either. And I gotta say, I really like a good vigilante film. And I know that this one is a little bit more along the lines of a thriller, but you absolutely need to check this movie out if you have not yet because it is so awesome. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you agree with my choices, and do you think that these movies do exhibit the sins that I've paired them with, or do you think there would have been other movies that would have gone better with those? Let me know all of that down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it and consider subscribing if you haven't yet for more horror content. I do post 2 new videos each week. You can follow me on Instagram for updates on my channel as well as additional horror content. You can also follow me on Letterboxd to see what I have been watching lately and my brief thoughts on any of those films. If you would like either of those, they are linked in my channel description for easy access for you guys. I want to say thank you to everyone who has been supporting my channel so far. It doesn't go unnoticed. My name is Devin. This is Carpenter Hill. Thanks for watching.